right, welcome back to another episode of the Tasting Through Time podcast. Today we'll skip introductions, but that's Julian, I'm Kyle, and we are covering the Moscow Mule today. A classic.
Yeah. Have you had a Moscow Mule in the last 5 years?
In the last 5 years, yes.
The last 3 years?
Maybe.
Can you remember the last Moscow Mule you've had?
No.
No.
But I've had sips of other people's Moscow Mules because I really do like ginger beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you? Have you had one recently?
No. I have one here.
Are you a fan?
I am a fan. I don't get them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I don't order them. I get them. I get the appeal, but I don't
There's
order
just
them.
so many other options of classic cocktails.
And I feel like my life has evolved into me constantly being on some type of diet for no real reason.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're both in the same
So-
boat there, but Moscow Mule's not a terrible one for the diet.
No. We've got some light ginger beer
Yeah.
tonight too, so
Yeah, if you can find that diet ginger beer, that light ginger beer,
yeah.
keep the calories low.
I was trying to think on the way here. When's the last time I ordered one? We've probably made some.
Mm-hmm.
Our buddy Avery probably made us some at
Yeah.
some point, but I don't know the last time I was at a
bar and ordered one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's never. I mean, you see them everywhere because
Yeah.
they're so simple to make, but it's never something that I'm drawn to.
Me trying to think of it right now, the last one I can picture, and I'm sure I've had several since, but in like 2017, I went with my wife to a conference in Minneapolis, and I got a Minnesota Mule, which is just like their take on it. I
Okay.
can't remember ordering another one since, and I assume that I have, but
I truly can't remember me ordering one.
never?
No, not ever, but within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I've
well,
definitely had one, and I've sipped other people's that I'm with because it's a popular drink among our friend group, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's not my personal favorite to order.
No, it's good though.
It
Good
is
history too.
It's a good drink. Why don't we get into the history then?
All right, we got some good history.
I'm excited.
Not none of that garbage history that sometimes
Yeah, that Kit Kat history.
that some of these people are putting out there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So before we get in, you got any idea what's going on here?
We are recording a video
No,
for
666 about the Moscow Mule.
Yes, I do have a decent idea of what's going on here because of our previous podcast.
We probably had a Moscow Mule on the previous podcast.
Yes. we
Within the
did.
last 5 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we didn't order one.
that's true.
I don't remember a lot of the details around the history of the Moscow Mule, but I do remember some. So I'm excited for you to get into it.
All right. So in regards to the history of the Moscow Mule, there's 3 potential theories that kind of weave together, make a nice little story.
Okay.
So theory number 1 begins with a woman named Sophie Brzezinski, a Russian-born woman attempting to come to the United States in 1941. Apparently, Sophie was coming over here with very little. But one thing she did have was 2,000 copper mugs.
Of course you did.
That's standard travel. That's standard travel equipment. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find me on an airplane or a boat without 2,000 copper mugs. So Sophie's father apparently owned and operated the Moscow Copper Company, obviously in Russia.
Real convenient.
Well, this is how dreams are made. Sophie had the idea to make these copper mugs, design the original version herself, and her father stamped out 2,000 copies of her.
Of her?
For her. The 2,000 copies of her were for me. I got those specially
Okay,
made.
understood.
I'm picturing Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle. Right? That was her name?
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah. Sophie's kind of bad. All right.
I can't wait to put them side by side next to each other on the video.
Yeah. She's probably a beautiful woman.
I'll put the rating as well.
All right. We just call it quits here. I mean, like we're going to get shut down.
We're going to get canceled anyway.
All right. So during this time, America was still seen as a land of opportunity. Maybe it still is. That's personal opinion, whatever. No comment? All right.
Well, I'm thinking in my mind, like, I just got my dad to stamp out 2,000 copper mugs, and then I'm stuck in my room with 2,000 copper mugs, and I'm thinking, what do I do with this? Land of opportunity, baby.
Mm-hmm.
I need an opportunity right now.
I'm just going to say it, though. I've been living in America for 35 years.
Mm-hmm. Very limited opportunity.
I never had the opportunity to stamp out 2,000 copper mugs. I'm just throwing that out there.
Never had the opportunity to sell that many either.
Well, as we find out, Sophie was struggling to do the same. But
Okay.
So selling those 2,000 copper mugs in Russia, she had the opportunity to stamp them. Apparently the opportunity to sell them, not good. It's a tough look. Tough look for Russia.
Like a lot of our goods, we import them. So they get made other places and then we sell them here.
Mm-hmm.
So that maybe she was just on the fast track to that.
Yeah, she was ahead of the curve.
Okay.
All right, so her and her dad decided that Sophie and her husband would come to the land of opportunity, the US of A, and they were going to go ahead and sell those 2,000 copper mugs, which I'd just like to point out, that's a bold move.
Yeah.
You could have gone to other places, closer,
Mm-hmm.
tried your hand there. Could have
Yeah.
tried to sell them in Russia.
Maybe like make your way to the United States.
But no. That's why we're just sitting here in this room and she was out here making moves.
That's true. I don't have 2,000. I don't have one copper mug.
We don't have one copper mug. I don't even know what this is. It's not copper, though.
That's the best we got.
But anyway, unfortunately, the land of opportunity wasn't favorable to her at first.
Been there.
Well, so a few months into her being here, she's still sitting on 2,000 copper mugs. Her husband, like I would do, he's ready to quit. He gave it a good 3-month push.
I mean, you wipe past 2,000 copper mugs.
He's ready to throw in the towel, baby. So he pretty much told her, like, you need to sell these or I'm throwing them.
Yeah.
He kind of bullied her a little bit, but, you know, that was a push she needed.
To be fair, he came with her from Russia
that's fair.
with 2,000 copper mugs.
And nothing else.
And he got to put his foot down.
Anyway, so she didn't want to give up. So she sets out into the streets of Los Angeles, which is where they were.
Okay.
Which I totally, until I started reading, pictured them landing in New York, which doesn't make sense because they'd have to cross Europe.
Yeah.
But
I was thinking that as well, actually. I was always picturing them crossing the Atlantic for some reason.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But yes.
I guess they could have sailed over the Scandinavian countries there. But
yeah. Not with 2,000 mugs, man.
No, yeah.
That'll weigh down any ship. Stupid.
That's an accident waiting to happen.
Okay.
All right, so she's on the streets of L.A., and she goes to every bar she can find, every lounge, every restaurant, every food joint, whatever. And she's trying her best to talk them into buying some of these mugs. She doesn't even want to sell them all at first. She's like, I mean, obviously she wants to, but she's like, buy 2.
Take something off my hands.
She wanders in. She's having no luck. She wanders into a little establishment, the old Cock and Bull pub on Ocean Park.
I would also wander in there if I saw it.
It would be hard to pass up. We're going to take a little break from our girl, Sophie.
Okay.
She's peddling her copper mugs around L.A.
It's a real coincidence that we take a break as she strolls into the Cock and Bull.
I gotta leave you guys wanting more. We're still in the Cock and Bull.
Oh, okay.
And there's a little man in there. Maybe he's not little. Maybe he's normal size. I don't know. Named Jack Morgan. He owned this bar, this pub, this establishment.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this dream to make an all-American ginger beer.
It's a hell of a dream.
And because we're in the land of opportunity, he has the opportunity to make a lot of it.
Yeah, whatever dream you have, really.
In 1941, I mean, that's...
Yeah, prime World War II.
You got a dream and you go for it and you get it.
Yeah, he knows there's a world war going on. He just wants to make ginger beer.
They're like, man, this is the land of dreams and opportunity. I have the opportunity for world peace. Let's go ginger beer.
Maybe that's the route.
I mean, could be. So this man is swimming in it. He's doing laps in the amount of ginger beer he has.
Okay.
He's filling the swimming pool with it.
2,000?
2,000 pools?
Well, I was going to say 2,000 bottles or...
Enough to fill a pool. I don't know.
2,000 pools?
Dude, one pool full of ginger beer that he can't get rid of, probably because he's swimming in it.
So he has a good bit.
He's got a lot of ginger beer. Because he had the opportunity to make it, much like Sophie. But he's having a hard time getting it out there.
Understood.
Conveniently, Jack has a friend.
Must be nice.
And his friend's name is John G. Martin. And he was the head of Hublin and Brothers. And he also had a dream, as well as an opportunity, to purchase an entire distillery.
Okay.
So he's filling his pool with vodka.
I was born in the wrong time.
I know, man.
It's a lot of dreams and opportunities being fulfilled here.
So, like I said, Jack and John are friends. Sounds like made up names, I know, but they're friends. And they're hanging out in the old cock and bull,
Okay.
drinking away, making fun of each other because they got all this opportunity, but no reward.
As any of us would.
Yeah, kind of like what's going on here.
Yeah.
Making fun of each other's, failing business.
Yeah, 0 views.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But, as fate would have it, little Sophie wanders in. I would assume like a divine being walking into that door. Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle.
And at this point of the video, they've already seen both Sophies side by side, so they know exactly which Sophie is walking in. Okay.
And I'm talking prime Sophie.
Okay. Prime Sophie.
Like when she's real old, climbing up them steps. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm thinking Sophie Turner.
Yeah. All right. And so Sophie walks in, and she got, in my mind, she's got a sack full of 2,000 mugs. You would assume she didn't bring all 2,000, but she's ready to sell. So
Like
maybe she did.
Santa style.
Oh yeah. So they're all drinking now.
Mm.
She's giving them the sales pitch, and in this moment of serendipity, where one man has a pool full of beer, ginger beer, one man's got a swimming pool full of vodka, and one girl's got a swimming pool, you would assume, much like Scrooge McDuck, just a vault full of copper mugs. They put their little noggins together, and they're like, "All right, we're in this well-stocked bar. We've got some other ingredients here. Let's see what we can do with this."
It's a logical choice.
They get to brainstorming. After a while, they got a little cocktail made. A moment of magic, probably. I'd imagine.
Sparks.
Oh, yeah. Gotta be sparks. Add a little lime in there.
Sparks.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else got chills?
Mm-hmm. All three of them did. And this is, according to this theory, is kind of where the Moscow Mule gets its presentation in a copper mug from.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, we're in L.A., land of angels, city of angels. Land of angels when Sophie's in town, apparently.
True.
And an actor named Broderick Crawford comes in.
Okay.
Orders himself a little Moscow Mule, the old cock and bull. Loves it. Actors, even in the 40s, didn't have Instagram, didn't have TikTok.
But their word carried some weight.
Spreads like wildfire. Everyone wants the Moscow Mule.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some versions of this theory that kind of erase Sophie at all, which is a tragedy. It's unfortunate that
Tough. That's tough for her.
well, as a society, we're erasing women's contributions to important things, and it's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
One historian says he throws another woman back in. A little romance. He says it wasn't Sophie.
Okay.
It's Jack's girlfriend, Ocelyn Schmidt. Our girl Ocelyn had just inherited a business that manufactured copper goods. She designed, made the copper mugs, fed them to the bar where her boyfriend worked. Maybe. That can make more sense, because if it's spreading like wildfire, those 2,000 mugs that Sophie had.
Yeah, where she's getting more from?
Yeah.
Moscow?
Maybe.
But like Moscow to New York. And then
Her old deadbeat husband going back and forth carrying those 2,000 mugs at a time.
On like a little sailboat is what I'm picturing.
Like the little dinghy that Jack Sparrow comes into in the beginning.
The Pacific. Okay, so we got Sophie completely out of the picture now.
Replaced with Ocelyn.
And who came up with this theory here? Or he says this is the...
Some historian.
Somebody else, some historian comes up with this.
Some schmuck.
Yeah. Historians love just butting in the cocktail history.
Erasing our girl's contribution to this.
I mean, as much as I love the Sophie story, and it's a lot better story to sell, the Ocelyn, what's her name?
Ocelyn Schmidt.
Ocelyn Schmidt story makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, just from a production standpoint.
Yeah, like a supply chain standpoint, that would be the one.
Like I said, I want to believe Sophie, but those 2,000 mugs only going so far. But it is possible. They bought them all. She saw how good it was doing. Her dad owns this company. She just got another supply in. 1941, it's not like you order it online. I don't know how quick things work. But maybe. So anyway, here's another theory.
Okay, third theory.
Around the time that our girl Sophie was just setting her little feet, her and her husband just settling onto U.S. soil.
Okay.
With their 2,000 mugs. in a sack, nothing else. Maybe a toothbrush, hopefully. I don't know. A man named George Sinclair reports that the Moscow Mule was actually being born on the other side of the country in Manhattan.
Where she actually landed.
Allegedly.
Okay, so we have 3 theories going right now.
Yes.
We have the one where Sophie and her husband come from Moscow with the 2,000 copper mugs.
Yes.
And then they just happen upon this moment of serendipity in the Cock and Bull.
Mm-hmm.
And the cocktail comes to be. The
Yes.
other one is Ashlyn Schmidt, girlfriend of the owner of Cock and Bull, supplying the mugs.
In both theories, maybe all 3 theories, my man's got a surplus of I think it's pretty much been established
Okay,
my man
so
had a dream to swim in ginger beer.
It's locked down that my man was making too much ginger beer.
Can you make too much ginger
Maybe
beer?
not enough. Maybe not enough. So the third theory is it was actually not L.A., but Manhattan.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, so George Sinclair, he's an author. He discovered that in 1948 there was an edition of the New York Herald Tribune that referred to a new cocktail, the Moscow Mule.
What was the date?
1948. So it was a few years later.
Okay.
And he states that this brings the origin of the Moscow Mule into question. I guess he doesn't feel that was enough time for it to make it across the country.
I don't know.
Yeah, as I just said, I don't know how life worked over. I don't know how life works now, but much less then. You couldn't things spread so fast now. We take it for granted with social media and
That's
whatever.
True, yeah.
Maybe that was quick. To me, 7 years is plenty. Like a lot of things come and go in 7 years now, but back then I don't know. He's obviously smarter than me. I'm reading his name. He ain't reading mine.
You don't know that.
Not yet. Wait until I throw my own wrench in this.
Fourth theory.
Mm-hmm.
No mugs. No beer.
This don't exist. Okay. All right.
He ain't gonna read your name.
That's fair. So this theory says the birthplace of the Moscow Mule was actually inside of New York City's Chatham Hotel. Still in 1941, though. And Jack Morgan, our boy with the swimming pool vodka,
shout out,
is visiting New York.
That's real convenient.
With his friend who's got all the. No, I'm sorry, he's got all the ginger beer. His friend John has all the vodka. They're on a little trip together. They're in New York. They sit down in the Chatham Hotel bar. I guess still making fun of each other for their failed business ventures. But there's a third friend involved now. We haven't met him. His name is Rudolf Kunit. And Rudolf is the president of Pierre Smirnoff, which is the vodka division recently obtained by John. The three of them spent some time talking, trying to figure out what to do with all of their surplus. And they started throwing jokes around about just combining them with the homemade beer or the whatever, his beer.
Yeah.
His ginger beer.
You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to know where this is going.
Right. So then they tell the little bartender there, mix these up. Let's see what we got. We cooking here. Let us cook, but we don't have, it's back home in the swimming pool.
Let us cook, but put your wrist to work, not ours.
Yeah. And then again, they threw some lime, which lime is always a good idea. I stand by that. That's a fair choice.
I think so.
And the Moscow Mule was born there, according to this theory. This theory does it doesn't really give you a reason why it would have been in a copper mug, unless they just so happened to see one, or, you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
Or unless a bartender grabbed it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right.
That being said, also, the Moscow Mule, you can kind of trace a name back when Sophie is involved. She's from Russia.
Right.
The metaphor of her transporting, it's a nice story. Her transporting all these copper mugs to America, reminiscent of a mule transporting goods from point A to point B. But it also could just be used vodka, which is traditionally a Russian spirit.
Right. And it was Smirnoff.
And Smirnoff. Yeah.
I don't know. But, I mean, typically, and I'm sure you'll agree, since we've gone over so many cocktail history just stories now, but a lot of times the story that is the most, or seems the most romanticized, is not the one that is true. It's usually the one that makes the most sense and not the one that tells the better story.
So of these three, are you saying the second one makes the most sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. What if I told you there's another a wild card?
All right, I'm ready.
All right. In 2007, a new theory emerged.
2007, that's very recent.
You would think, but if you think, I mean, it is obviously more recent, but it's...
Yeah, relative to the other stories.
You know what else happened in 2007?
What?
I graduated high school.
Damn.
So, I mean...
Just aged yourself on this podcast.
You think our boy is reading my name and he's like 2007, Julian.
He's looking through the yearbook.
Damn. That's unfortunate. All right, in 2007, a new theory emerged that almost completely disproved the New York City theory. Jack Morgan, the Cock and Bull owner, his head bartender, Wes Price, was quoted saying that the creation of the Moscow Mule occurred for no reason other than he was simply trying to get rid of unsold inventory that was in the cellar of the bar.
That's the most likely story.
Price claims that he was the one to mix the first Moscow Mule and serve it to the actor, Roderick Crawford. And after seeing it spread like wildfire, it just took off. He was like...
Yeah.
And he said, I just wanted to clean out the basement.
I mean, there's a few stories in cocktail history that's the case for how cocktails are created. They had a surplus and then their manager's like, hey, figure this out. Like, make a drink.
Yeah.
And sell it.
I like to think that they had a surplus of this still because...
The ginger beer.
Because the owner and his friend had essentially a failed business venture.
Yeah.
And too much ginger beer and vodka.
At the same time, I think that the Wes Price story is probably the one that makes the most sense now that I've heard them all.
Mm-hmm.
But part of me struggles with the idea of someone coming out and say they made it.
Yeah, that always lessens the impact for me of reliability.
Like if it was the actor that said it or if it was a third party or something, that would be different.
All right, one more theory. I created it. I just did it. Yeah, I don't know. It was just like I was bored.
I had the surplus of ginger beer.
Yeah, I had all this vodka. I had a dream.
Oh, you had all of it. You had the vodka, the ginger beer.
No, I had all the vodka. You had the ginger beer. Right?
Yeah, right.
Y'all believe this?
Yeah. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, well, we'll give it time. All right. Anyway, so theories aside, the Moscow Mule has done very well. There's it almost, I don't want to say it doesn't matter because there's a reason we do these history, all these little goofy jokes and whatever.
It really doesn't. Ain't nobody ordering a Moscow Mule besides us and saying, man, I wonder where this came from.
I mean, you're right. That's it. I mean, there's no other way to end that history, dude. It's served around the world. Like I said earlier, we were in Minneapolis and they had their own version. We've seen others.
There's tons, and there's flavored ones. Like it's vodka's the base spirit. So with vodka as your base spirit, you can do whatever you want. It's like a blank canvas, and a lot of people do. They put all kind of flavorings in it, all kind of fruit, all kind of everything, and they're good. I mean, it's almost never bad. But yeah. What's in it?
You'll never guess. We got ginger beer.
Okay.
We got vodka.
Okay.
We got lime juice. Throw in the lime, whatever. You got ice.
I would have never guessed. It's supposed to be in a copper mug, though.
It's supposed to be in a copper mug. I don't know. What do you think this is made out of? Aluminum?
Probably. It's nice, though.
It was a gift for being in my brother's wedding.
I like it. But yeah, for somehow, out of all the alcohol that we drink, we couldn't come up with one copper mug between the two of us.
If only Sophie would have walked in, kicked in the door, the light beaming behind her.
I'd have bought the lot.
Her husband would have had to fight me. Her husband would have had to fight me. I'd have asked for a hand in marriage.
God.
As she kicked in the door to me and my wife's house. Okay. That's stupid.
With 2,000
I would never do that. Oh, she got the 2,000 bucks with her?
Yeah. She carried them all.
That's some good core strength, too.
I know.
You ever tried to carry 2,000 copper bucks? Me either. I would imagine it's not like that.
It can't be easy. I'm impressed. I really am. So, the history, as far as cocktail history goes, now that we've heard so much of it, that's a cool story because of all the theories involved.
Yes. We when we did our podcast, we definitely ran into some that would just be like, I had extra stuff and I made a cocktail,
Exactly. It was made at this bar because we had extra stuff.
which is fine.
Yeah.
But there's definitely more interesting ones.
Yeah. The mystery around this is exciting.
I know we're doing all kind of stuff now, and who knows when we'll get to them, but is there one or two cocktails that you're excited to revisit their history that you remember offhand?
Yes. I would say the sidecar is one of them.
Okay.
And, well, if I was going to give another cocktail, I would do the Saturn. I like the Saturn history that we did. But also, I was flipping through one of the books that I have yesterday on the bar, and I came across Benedictine, and I remember that story being quite interesting with the monks involved that make Benedictine, and I like those types of stories. So, I mean, lucky for us, we have a ton of content that we can do.
Yeah, I remember every now and then being completely shocked. Because for those who don't know, it was 3 of us, and we would take a week, and one of us, so the other 2 didn't know necessarily the history.
Right.
So there were some times that it would be this really famous cocktail and the history was whatever. Sometimes it'd be this unknown cocktail and the history was amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like the Dark and Stormy was a cool history.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll get to them, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll get to a bunch of them. I'm also very excited for like certain snacks.
You have like a top 3 you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I do have a top 3. Actually, I was looking at the Flintstone Push Pops.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I kind of want to hear the story about that because that was kind of revolutionary at the time.
Do they still make?
I think they do, but it's a different recipe, I think. But like, I mean, that was a big deal. When
I used to ride my little bike.
Yeah.
I had a little mongoose.
I had
pegs on the back.
Flintstone Push Pops. I also want to look at like Nerds and Pop Rocks, like that kind of candy stuff. There's infinite possibilities. Frozen pizzas on the list too.
Do you remember? This is just what came to mind when I asked you the question, and I didn't have an answer, and I kind of still don't. But there was like a year or two in the late '90s, early 2000s, where there was the Orbitz drink.
Yeah,
there was a sparkling water with the little floating like.
That's on the list as well.
Man,
I literally have a Google Doc that says Orbitz on it.
You used to drink this?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I only had like 4.
Oh, I haven't had more than maybe like 10.
For whatever reason, maybe they were expensive. My parents wouldn't get them.
Yeah.
I mean, I was one of 5, so there was a whole herd to buy groceries for. But
they also look like they'd harm you.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, they went off the market. I don't know what the deal is. I guess when we get to it, we'll figure it out. But
yeah.
I always wanted them. And I remember the few that I had, I didn't hate them, but I also didn't love them. But I always still wanted them. They just looked cool. Yeah. And as a kid, that was enough.
They looked awesome. Yeah, that's on the list. I also want to get into like energy drinks too. I know we both drink energy drinks. So.
Not me.
Yeah, okay, perfect. I just wake up with a lot of it. A lot of energy. Ain't no way. But yeah, we have a long list of stuff that we want to get to. I loved the cocktail podcast, but we were very much handicapped by the amount of interesting stories we could tell.
Yeah. You know, there's 100 other cocktails we never got to. And I'm nothing against the cocktail. There's some of these cocktails are great, but the history is little more than a bartender was making a new drink. Yeah, like
why even span it the course of an episode? Whereas like we have full reign here, so if it's trash, it's our fault, which it probably is. But oh well.
We just talked about Sophie and then morphed her into the Howl's Moving Castle girl for.
Yeah, well, she is that in my mind still. So
she's back.
Yeah.
So it went Howl's Moving Castle to Sophie Turner, back to...
Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe Sophie Turner lives in Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah, maybe.
Think about it.
You know what? Until the next episode, that will the only thing I'll think about.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's a good way to end this, I think.
No thought into the next episode's research or anything.
No, you don't need to. I'm doing it.
Perfect.
Easy. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there because I'm sure we've killed off a lot of your brain cells, but... Until next time, we appreciate you watching or listening wherever you are listening. If you want to see the video, it'll be on YouTube. If you just care about audio, it'll be everywhere else you listen to your podcast. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Comment goes a long way. We really appreciate it. It helps us build out sets like this and do more videos. So thank you guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.
See ya.